Good evening, everybody. It is 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here, Rochester, New York, the Old Wolf. Another episode of the Witch and Wolf Wisdom. Tonight's episode 17, Communication Breakdown. Yes, going to be a little bit of a follow-up from some of the stuff I had mentioned last week, some of the stuff that's obviously been going on in the world. It's been going on for a little while. The past couple of years, I've heard some people reference it as another variant of the COVID, which, by the way, is no joke. Not getting into any of the controversies or the blah, blah, blah bullshit, but, we all had it in here. And I am still not 100% getting there, but it definitely did a bit of a dance. So, for everybody out there who's been struggling in whatever context, hang in there. It does get better. April 9:30 there in Newfoundland. Welcome. Yeah, 8 o'clock p.m. here. So I love the context, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to do the podcast this way. I love being able to interact with people from around the world, cultures and aspects, and the little nuances, and it does tie into the whole theme here. Communication, getting to know, understand. Knowledge is power. Do you know what I mean? So that's a beautiful thing. It's how we, I think, grow. I believe wholeheartedly it's how we evolve. It's how we take care of each other. I mean, if we don't understand each other, then, the simple analogy is, well, how the fuck do we take care of each other? And again, some of it is obviously based on perception. We don't have to all agree on everything. We don't want to be little drone robots and shit. But there has to be, the little common things. So we're going to start off tonight, obviously. We are streaming across YouTube and Facebook for all our Facebook friends and users. We are also on YouTube. If you use YouTube, please, join us. It's a little bit more stable, a little bit less clunky, unfortunately, versus what Facebook could be. But however, again, whatever works for you, as they say.
Well, the good news is when YouTube's being glitchy, Facebook's okay. When Facebook's being glitchy, YouTube's okay. So between one of the two, you'll find us in a good way. But you're right.
Yes.
YouTube's very, very native for the video and the audio and stuff.
And trying to expand. I know you've been looking at other things, playing around with
Twitter. I'm on, and now on TikTok. I know, all that crazy shit.
I'm not gonna lie, some of that shit scares the shit literally out of me. And I consider myself, progressive. Don't get me wrong. I understand, especially through the generational aspects. Everybody shifts and kind of dances differently within their thing. And that's cool. But when some of it is like, ending in the Tide Pod challenge. I'm worried. I'm worried for us as a culture. I'm worried for us as a species. You know what I mean? And again, I'd like to understand. I mean, I'd like to believe, and as a parent, I know for a fact that we've at least tried to the best degree. Granted, some of it's fucked up, but we tried to create a better world, a more expansive world, more options, shit to do. Interactive things. The internet. Gaming. Music. Call it whatever you want. Sure, yeah, we got problems and stuff. I just don't understand how, with everything there is to do and what's going on, that somehow Tide Pods become a thing. But hey.
I mean, we spend so much of our childhood with our mothers saying, I'm going to wash your mouth out with soap. That somebody would voluntarily put Tide Pods in their mouth and try to eat them is beyond me. That's just...
Yeah, I guess, listen, it is a framework.
I don't get it.
Of perception.
I don't get it. That understand.
Yeah, I actually went through that. My mother did that to me once.
What, washing your mouth out with soap?
Oh yeah, she stuck that bar of soap in.
Tell her it didn't take.
No, it really didn't. Fuckity fuck. But listen, again, and I joke around with my mother about this now. Her language is no better. It really isn't, and especially at her age now. To put it bluntly, she doesn't give a fuck. She really doesn't. She loves and cares, for the things within her world. She's a great grandmother. She's a great mother. She's a humanitarian. She is many things. And she has a lot of knowledge. And speaking of which, because of the COVID dance and having to reschedule some of these things, she will be coming on the podcast again, as promised. And that will be not next Tuesday, the 15th, but February 22nd. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting... Well, wait a minute. We may have to reschedule again. The witch has given me the evil...
Remember 2-2?
The 2-2. The thing that you fucked up that I danced around.
Well, no, there's 2 2-2s.
Yeah, no.
There's the second, and then there's the 22nd.
All right, so...
But
obviously,
one was in bulk and one is the 2-2-2.
And no coincidence. Even here between us, communication breakdown.
Yeah, there we go.
Communication fucking breakdown. It happens, but we can learn. We can adapt. So, with that said, we're going to talk about a couple of little different things. Obviously, that that we do, and we're going to start it off with, those of you who follow us and know, we did a contest last month.
Oh, yeah.
That was a trivia contest. Ash Pup won.
Yes.
By the way, Ash, if you're listening out there, your sweatshirt is complete. It's being shipped out to us. Shiya just wants, again, double check it, make sure that everything's groovy. And she's got a couple extra little things.
I feel like modeling your sweatshirt for once. It's one of a kind.
So she's gonna. We're gonna make sure it gets sent in, directly to you with a couple of little, like I said, extra things. Mm-hmm. But the next contest coming up, is going to be a writer's contest.
Yay!
And this is something that you and I had talked about, wanting to give people an opportunity.
I'm super excited about
to
this.
Be able to explore elements, not only within writing, be it a mantra or a poem, spell, whatever the case, but in the framework on how that can and is, like what I do, convert it into music. So it's pretty simple. 50 words or less. It's a poem, spell, a mantra, again, something that has obvious meaning to you.
That could be somehow translated into a song, but
right. Like if you have a particular element in your mind, and then again, those of you who follow us know I'm all over the fucking place with music. It can be classical, it can be contemporary, it can be rock, it can be metal, it could be Celtic, it can be fucking rap. I have all the tools, as they say.
And you've even done blues.
Well, blues is personally more enjoyable to me, but in the element of what I do as a musician, especially in the context if I'm doing it for a video project or for a commercial, music has many different forms, and it's not so much a right or wrong. The only thing that I won't do is twangy country, really.
No, I've done too much of that growing up. I mean,
that's no offense to people who like country. No, I like old country.
Country's great, but for me, I grew up with it being shoved in my face 24/7. So it's like, when I grew up, it's like, that's enough. I'm over it completely. Y'all enjoy it.
The grand prize is the writing will be taken and made into a song. You'll have songwriting credits in it within the copyright elements and stuff like that. Obviously, I will be producing it. It'll be released, etc., etc. Also, a 30-minute private reading with either Shiya or myself, and a $25 gift certificate from someone who we're going to talk about in a few minutes, but it's basically be a gift certificate to Mystical Moons, and she's got some really cool shit.
Crystals.
Second prize will be a 30-minute reading, the $25 gift certificate, and third place will be a $25 gift certificate to Mystical Moons. And again, I'm going to get into, some of her stuff in a moment. All the blah, 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 no purchase necessary. The prizes don't hold any monetary value. This is not McDonald's Monopoly. Anybody who submits in, a poem or writing, obviously, implies you're giving us permission to use it.
But of course, you will get credits. If you
Absolutely.
You get credits.
Right. We use it, you get credit. Okay? We're not trying to rip anybody off. We're just trying to get a lot of people to express, that they have these things. They have little songs in their heads. And if you have a framework, please feel free to add it. If you have a melody, go ahead on your phone.
Add it in.
Sing a lullaby, record it, send it with it. Yeah. Because there is no limitation except, again, twangy country. Pretty much anything and everything else is open.
So your submission, and then you know what? I've got to go back and redo the thingy because the one thing I left off of there is the one thing that's important.
Is an email.
Should be going to contest@ladyshiya.com.
Yes.
Yes. So contest@ladyshiya.com is the email you need to send it into.
Or just send it to ladyshiya.com. I'm pretty sure your email server will send it to you, but we'll get that fixed. Be plenty of time. The deadline, we're gonna run it for a few weeks. So there's plenty of time. This is not. I'm thinking at least the next month, probably 6 weeks.
I'm thinking
to the end of March.
Deadline should be my birthday.
Well, there you have it. The witch said it the best. The deadline will be April 1st for Lady Shiya's birthday.
There you go.
But yeah, we're going to give people plenty of time. You can submit multiple elements. So if you got a bunch of shit rattling around, and listen, I won't lie. If we get a whole bunch of people that submit a whole bunch of great ideas, yes, it'll be hard to pick a specific winner for the actual prizes. But I'll be honest, if I like the context, I'll reach out to you directly and be like, hey, that was really good. Shiya didn't like it. That's why you didn't win. But I liked it.
Throw me under the bus.
I'll throw you under. Listen, I'll
under
fucking
the
throw you.
bus.
Listen, when it comes to music, no.
I know where you sleep.
Shit is what it is.
I know where you sleep.
Goddamn right you do.
I
Next
sleep
to
right
me.
there next to you.
No, but listen, again, in fairness, just so that way, again, because contest, implies competition, obviously. We wanted to splice it up. We wanted to throw in a little extra stuff because you guys support us in so many different ways, and, they're little, things, don't get me wrong, Suzanne's crystals and stuff are fucking, they're banging.
They're banging.
They're really, really cool.
Well, tell everybody what you got for your birthday this past Sunday.
I'll talk about that another time.
Okay.
And it came from her, so, no coincidence. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that.
Mystical moons.
Mystical moons. Discover your mystical side.
Hey, we all got a mystical
And she's also active. She does lives. She has weekly and monthly, giveaways. You can check it out on, facebook.com/mysticalmoonslive or go to www.mysticalmoons.com. Now, little extra thing, for anybody who's, paying attention to these things. And if you're into that type of stuff, we're talking crystals, jewelry, decoration supplies, metaphysical, all that beautiful stuff. But her and Shiya have been, working together for some time now.
Yeah.
25% off your first order for anybody associated through Lady Shiya or the podcast and stuff. Yeah, so basically mention Shiya. Let's just fucking drop her name. Yeah, I mean, drop my name too, but I'm just an old wolf. But drop the name, okay? Get 25% off.
That's
you know what I mean?
I like it.
And if you score one of the gift certificates, that's really cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, even if you're not into it yourself, I know a lot of people, I don't wear as much of the jewelry and stuff. It gets in the way, especially, again, being a guitar player, a little bit. But they make great gifts. And as Shiya mentioned, I got this really beautiful, what was it made of?
It was purple fluorite.
And it's a beautiful wolf.
It's a wolf with a sword in his mouth.
Yes, a wolf with a sword in his mouth.
Actually, I kind of felt like it was apropos for you because you know how they say the pen is mightier than the sword? In some ways, your voice is mightier than the sword. So, I mean, you get out there and speak the truth. Your voice is a sword. Can't be a sword.
But my voice does annoy some people. Am I annoying you out there, I wonder? Are you listening in the shadows? I don't know.
One person, she might be.
Well,
I don't know. One person who said that.
Listen, the way that I was taught is you're not really making a mark until you got fucking haters.
Yeah, that's true.
Which brings us around into, tonight's elements. And, again, I'm going to talk about Brother Tony real quick. Who did
we love Tony
the sweatshirt that Ash won. Tony's got a couple different gigs going. He's got the Under My Skin tattoo shop in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey, world renowned, one of the greatest tattoo artists out there. He's got the band Broken Past, who I featured several times.
Yeah,
me and the Monkey actually played with them in the beginning in Tony's garage back in the day, and they have continued and evolved over the years to become quite an interesting band.
that garage has gotten fancy.
Yeah, that garage is crazy. And then finally you got the Papo Sticker Company, which is where Tony makes any types of, anything you can almost fucking imagine, right?
Patches,
Custom sweatshirts,
t-shirts,
hats, motorcycle patches, bumper stickers.
Yep.
You pretty much name it, he's got the equipment and technology to do it.
He has the technology, and he's not afraid to use it.
He is not fucking afraid to use it.
No.
And let me tell you,
yes.
my brother, even as a businessman, he is very humble.
Oh, he is.
He has very, very low prices. And, I've even, commented to him, said, listen, you're really good you can get away with charging more. And he's like, nah, he doesn't want to be greedy. He doesn't want to be that way. So,
well, he's one of the most kind-hearted, generous people I know, too. And he started the Under My Skin for Life Foundation to support charities for, like, women, children with autism.
Yep. No, the foundation specifically started for autism, but then, over the years, we started supporting other elements of things, and just like anything else, evolved over the years.
So it's just, when you support Tony, you're supporting a really genuinely good guy.
Yeah. No, listen,
genuinely
absolutely.
good guy. And I have not known him that well. I've known him.
Well, you want to go get a tattoo, Sue, but that's a conversation for another day.
But I choose him.
So,
Tony, I choose you.
One of the other things that I always like to talk about is Shiya's mentorship circle.
Group. Yes.
Really, just again, I can't say enough about it, but in its simplest context, it is a universe unto itself. A lot of different elements, not just Reiki or Tara, but shadow work and so many different variances.
Community
between rooms,
coming together,
community,
the self-paced learning. It's great. I love that.
And there's witchcraft. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. There's magic, there's spells, there's all that type of stuff.
I just posted a couple of really super powerful spells.
And, for those of you who do the readings, being a member, you get the discount off the live readings there. And, obviously, all the other things that you do, the guides, the teachings, all of it being self-paced.
Basically, it's turning out to becoming my book of shadows out there for everybody.
Yeah.
With community. So it's like, if I know it, it's eventually getting dumped in this group or has been already dumped in this group.
And then you have the private video reading. Well,
yes.
Again, here's the other analogy. Not everybody can come out on, a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because maybe they live in Yugoslavia or New Zealand, Australia. We know people all across the world.
Yep.
So the private readings are, they're simple. They're nice. They, can be anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes long, depending upon, the type of context. And they can be done in whatever time frame. Can be handled in really simple terms these days with the technology. So that way you can just basically click the link and, go watch it. We also can, if needed, convert and compress the file. So that way, if you want to hang on to it, So, there's a whole variety of different options. And again, it goes into, some of the elements with the services that we do. Again, we've mentioned the mentorship group, life coaching, counseling, all the Tara stuff that you do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. But, again, I do some of that stuff, but also within the music, the custom music element in crafting anything from a wedding track like we did for Lee and Derek, or a commercial, or for a mantra, or for any number of things on top of the music that we do and release.
Cool to turn around and say, hey, this song was written for me. When you did the most recent one for the wedding, I loved how you talked to the couple and got a sense of both of them and incorporated both of their favorite styles of music into one track. That was amazing.
Well, this kind of goes back to the concept of communication. You know what I mean? Again, if we simply talk to each other, and again, you don't have to agree. Communication does not imply acceptance. Okay, so if you talk to somebody, it doesn't mean that you have somehow now sold your soul to Satan and have lost all free will. Okay, it's a misconception.
Unless, of course, you've been talking to the government.
Well, that's a conversation for but I mean, again, communication.
Yes,
okay.
Communication.
I am one of the people who believes that a lot of what has gone on has been really focused around a very small section of our population that has weaponized misinformation and has been using it for nefarious contexts. I believe that a lot of the people, especially when you talk in the scope of right-wing culture, conservative culture, they're not fucking Nazis, okay? They're not racist at heart. They're not...
Some are, but very few are...
Listen, but again, you can find racist in any shape or size. The analogy being is that the majority of them are not this way. Now, again, what's happened, and I know this because my family comes from, the kind of, forefathers of conservative America. And to have conservative ideology, again, does not transcribe to a lot of the insanity that has been going on. Like somehow has now been associated with, fucking Nazis and, these white supremacists and these other insane type of, completely fringe bullshit.
Yeah.
Now, that being the case, there are still simple aspects, and again, we have a constitution. There's a piece of paper that has fucking words on it that pretty much lays it out. And whereas some things you can interpret, other things are very much specific. Separation of church and state. They did it for a reason, because politics and religion do not mix. Okay, they never have.
No, they should
and you
not.
Can't have one contingent on the other. The whole basis of religious freedom is that everybody has the right to believe, to worship, to engage in that aspect as they believe is fit. And, Shannon makes, it's a point. She's been in politics for years, and I agree. There is good and bad on both sides. And what I'm going to do now is one of the new little things that Shiya set up. And I'm going to switch over.
Let's turn the services.
There we go. Da-na-na-na-na.
There it is.
Yes, going to switch over to the chat thing, so that way other people can, in theory, see the chats of others that are going on. First time doing it, we may have to expand the font on that size. That font looks awfully fucking small.
It does, actually.
Holy shit. All right, well.
Why we might be able to.
Yes.
Okay, so go over to the Chrome.
Oh, all right. That went over here.
Yeah, just click on the Chrome and get to, there we go. Now, top right, chat.
Uh-huh.
Then over on the bottom where it says download app or embed,
Uh-huh.
the settings next to it.
Okay. Look at us. We're doing shit on the fly.
Now minimize our chat that we're looking at.
Wah,
Go
wah.
over to the embedded stream
Da-da-da-da.
and go down and scale it up. Now go look on the thingy and see where it's at.
Here
Click
we
on
go.
OBS.
Here we go. Here we go.
We have to save it.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to play with this for next time. So it is, as they say, what it is. But yeah, one of the new things that we're playing around. And again,
Actually, turn it off and back on. The visual.
okay. Well,
Try that and see if it'll reload it. Nope.
no. No, because it's going to change the encoding URL, which means we have to reset the whole thing. But anyway, yeah, that's one of the things that we will
That is small, though.
get actually fixed by our next podcast. Make the chat a little bit bigger. But we can see it, and I'll communicate it just as we have. And listen, and again, not to go off too much on a tangent, I've heard a lot of people talk about, you know, the aspect that they don't want to talk about it anymore. Okay? They don't want to even have a conversation with somebody on the other side. And I think that's wrong. And I think that that's obviously not helpful. Again, we don't have to agree on everything and stuff like that, but I do not believe that we just shut the door. And the analogy and the framework and the context tonight that I was using in this is kind of two elements that has now evolved out of this within, you know, this cancer culture aspect. And you got Joe Rogan on the one side in this podcast, which is, you know, Spotify just fucking deleting him
Well,
in
they
mass.
got a lot of flack because they were allowing.
Well, but here's the thing, and here's the framework. I am not justifying what he did. Unfortunately, the simple truth is, and I say unfortunately because none of us alive today had any say in this, but certain words have been corrupted. They are what they are, and especially in the framework for white people, okay, it is offensive to black people. It is just that simple. Doesn't matter if you agree, okay? They have made it clear that that's how they feel, and within a society, I believe, well, we should respect that.
I agree.
However, flip side problem, Joe's been doing that shit for fucking years, okay? He's been doing it for fucking years, okay? And what started the controversy is that he has now kind of dipped into some of the crazy fringe shit. And I don't know if that's to get more fucking subscribers or just to be noticed or what. Joe Rogan is one of those personalities. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to come around the corner and see him fucking a goat. Okay? I'm just saying. Now, is it consensual? I don't know. Really don't want to know. And I'm not saying, you know, I'm not trying to say that Joe Rogan is a goat fucker, but I think he would appreciate in the context of comedy and sarcasm that, you know, the guy's off the wall. He makes no fucking excuses for it. He knows he fucked up, but he's been fucking up for a few. And if we're going to go down this road, there are a whole lot of fucking people in a whole lot of different elements where this plays out. So Joe is getting canceled for fucking up in the context that he does. But if you know, flip on any of the streaming services and you pop in a film, say like Django, okay, Quentin Tarantino, there are a lot of white people saying the N-word throughout that whole goddamn movie. Now, why is it okay in the context of a movie? Okay. But it's not okay in the context of a guy on a fucking podcast. Now, again, I'm not saying what he said was right, and I am definitely not in agreement with the framework of how he's chosen to kind of play that. But we have a double standard, and it's a big fucking hole in it. So it makes it harder to have the honest conversation, because again, right off the bat, well, why is it okay over here? Why is it okay over there? I understand that from some people's perspective, and I've heard this from other black people, that for them, their perspective, because it is unique for them, especially within this country, that they have a different perspective. And again, you don't have to agree with it to respect that, just as we all have different perspectives on things. You talk to somebody from the Deep South that grew up in the 40s, okay, their world perception is something completely fucking different. Mm-hmm. Again, this is learned behavior. It's taught behavior. And the only defense against it, again, I believe, is that we talk about it, that we communicate so we can understand it.
Well, like as you all know, I used to help people with disabilities get jobs, and there were several times where I would have these young women of color that went through a CNA program, wanted to be a CNA, wanted to go into like the Alzheimer's units because you make more money in the Alzheimer's units, you know, as a CNA. And I had to sit down and have the conversation with them that you need to understand these Alzheimer's patients are still back in their heads in those old days where people of color were treated very differently. So prepare yourself to hear these languages, and they don't mean anything by it. It's just normal for them.
Well,
you know, that's
that was a fucking weird tangent. And listen, as far as I'm concerned, I don't give a shit if you're an 88-year-old Nazi in a fucking nursing home or the ex-Grand Dragon.
Yeah.
You know, no offense, the Alzheimer's thing doesn't really fly with me. I would still be like, listen, you old fucking racist asshole. I'm sorry. Again, I'm not going to lie. Yep. But the context, and before I was so rudely derailed with
not derailing.
Putting it off. No, because now the Alzheimer's groups are going to come out and be like, no, you're associating racism with Alzheimer's. You know, bullshit.
Yeah, but it's this understanding that was a different, you know, back then it was a different time.
Well, no, I disagree. I still think that's just, you know, that's an excuse. It doesn't make it right. We have to call it out. Right,
we do have to call it out.
In the framework. However, we have to call it out across the board. You can't have a double standard and say today we're going to fuck with Joe Rogan, and the problem is that what it really opened up with was that Joe Rogan had some of those crazies that were talking about the anti-COVID vax insanity shit. So people got pissed off about that. So they were screaming. And then when that happened, everybody went digging. They went digging, looking for every fucking piece of fucking bullshit that they could find. And lo and behold, you know, he's got like 60 fucking episodes where, you know, he's, you know, N-word this and N-word that, you know what I mean? And basically, Joe, in my opinion, has gotten too comfortable within the framework of quote-unquote culture that he just felt that, well, you know, I got friends that are black, so fuck it. You know what I mean? Or as the infamous South Park episode, you know what I mean? You know, people who annoy you, naggers, okay? All it takes is a fucking vowel.
Yeah.
Okay? And everything goes to shit. Now, as Jesse Jackson would say in that episode, apologize. Get right down there and apologize. Listen, it's fucked up. The word is fucked up. It has fucked up context. But again, if we're going to have an honest conversation, how do we take that away? How do we, in one element, say, well, it's okay, you know, for, you know, hip-hop artists and for movies and for select particular comedians, but, you know, and again, this is how it gets spun and translated, and people are like, well, that's a fucking double standard. So now everybody's spinning around, and now here's the other side of that coin. Whoopi Goldberg, she just, you know, she opened her mouth and she stepped in it. And she stepped in it on a nationally syndicated television show. And a lot of people have lost their minds over it. ABC freaked out, put her on timeout for 2 weeks. We've yet to see where that's going to go. The last person who did that, it didn't end well for Sharon Osbourne. She got canceled the fuck out. However, here's the problem. If you listen, and I mean really listen to what Whoopi, I believe, was trying to say, was that not that the Holocaust wasn't real, and not that it wasn't an atrocious crime against
humanity,
Jewish people, their faith, their culture, but that, yes, it was a crime against humanity. And I think she was trying to open up a dialogue and just didn't quite open it up correctly, unfortunately, in that we look at things in such one-dimensional elements that we're losing not only sight of the elements that not only create them, but also the lessons I believe that we need to learn. I believe that she was correct in what she was saying, is that the Holocaust, that whole element wasn't just about Jewish people. It was about homosexuals. It was about people who dissented politically, people who fell out of favor for whatever reason, gypsies, Poles. I mean, they killed millions of Polish people when they first came through. Millions of Russians, on the Western Front, or Eastern Front, as the case may be, depending upon which side of, the coin you are on. But, and again, it's not to take away and say that it didn't happen, and that it wasn't horrible, and that, again, if we're going to, we're going to put scales to it, to the best, maybe X amount versus Y. We shouldn't be looking at it in a numbers game. We should be looking at it for what it is. It is a crime against humanity.
Yes.
It is, in its very essence, how we treat each other, how we perceive each other. Okay? And unfortunately, because we don't have these honest conversations, it doesn't translate. So when she tried to drop that in the middle of a show, it didn't go good. Now, again, I don't agree with everything that Whoopi says, okay? I respect her as an actress, as a comedian, and as a human being, from everything that I've seen. And, I don't know her personally, you know what I mean? But I would say that, for Joe Rogan as well, too. He said some stupid shit. He did some stupid things. Does that define the guy across the board? No. I mean, right now, Dave Chappelle, again, with the whole trans insanity. Listen, again, you don't have to agree. And Shannon's right. Freedom of speech, even if it's speech we don't care for, that is the trade-off. Now, again, the framework of it is, freedom of speech does not apply when you tell a bunch of people to run into somebody's house and rape and kill their family. Okay? That doesn't fly.
It's not speech with consequence.
Okay? So, yes, there is a bit of that twisted kind of, you know what I mean? Especially when you're dealing with these hate groups, you know what I mean? And it's horrible. It's fucked up. But how do we change it? Do we just all sit back and just continue? Because really, here's the thing. It's been going on for a long time. And I don't think anybody with any intelligence just expects that it's just going to somehow fade away. It doesn't work that way. Okay, it has to be changed within not only the framework of our understanding, but how we perceive it, and then how it translates between things. It's like the analogy, anybody in Western culture, you know what I mean? You take a look at some of the Middle Eastern, especially, deep into places like Afghanistan, within the framework of their societies where, women, have to be, fully clothed and this and that. And a lot of people would say, well, that's fucking barbaric. That's fucking horrible. I get it. But here's the other side of the coin. That is their culture. That's what they know. So if we don't communicate, if we don't at least say, hey, there's someplace maybe in between that we can find, so that we're not blowing each other the fuck up, okay? Or just going absolutely ape shit with just all these stupid, and again, my opinion, stupid aspects of things. You know what I mean? Without any real truth to them. You know, and that is the unfortunate reality, is that truth has now been compromised. It has been commandeered, and misinformation has been weaponized. Now, granted, does that mean everything is everything? No, there's obviously variances, shit, sometimes the exception to the rule, again, whatever you want to call it. It goes sideways. It happens.
I mean, where do you draw the line, though? When you have something like, you know, what needs to be said, what can be said, what can't be said, cancel culture, where do you draw the line in this?
Well, I mean, again, I'll use a framework of one of the bigger ones that's still kind of spinning around. The whole mask analogy. We're a couple of years into this whole COVID dance now, and people have been screaming about mask. I believe the mask helped. Okay, was it 100% defense? Obviously, fucking not.
We got it anyway.
Yeah, we got it anyway. We wore the mask.
And have the vaccine.
Does that mean, again, especially in the framework from what we know now about how this works and the evolution of the disease, the virus, again, whatever you want to call it, the Chinese fucking Christmas present, you know what I mean? And and again, it's fucked up. But this is how things get into that twisted little thing. You know what I mean? I don't believe they're capable of making a fucking peanut butter sandwich, let alone throwing this, you know what I mean? Again, it was a human fuck up one way or another, because we've done so much damage to our planet and stuff like that a lot of these diseases, shit, again, I'm not going to list them all off, but they are in direct response to everything that has changed within our environment. So that being said, we know now more than we knew a year ago, or 2 years ago, or even, 2.5, depending upon your timetable. Mm-hmm. So now you see some of the adjustments. Keeping kids masked, okay, in schools isn't going to fucking work, okay? But if a child is immunocompromised, or if that parent decides that they want their child to be masked, I believe should be within their right. Now, it creates a fine line between one person's rights versus another's. Should it be mandated? Should it be forced? That's where I get a little bit, you know what I mean? Because we already know that even everything that we've done, the thing has still fucking spread, and it's going to spread. Now, again, as Sharon says, I welcome the advice from professionals, but you always have to have, I believe, an open mind and that aspect to really compare and look at it. But it's, again, a fine line. We have to look at how it is being translated, okay? And that element is what's fueling, again, I believe, a lot of this communication breakdown, making people crazy, making them pissed off. You get fucking caravans of trucks up in, Canada, and, protest rallies, and, fucking PTA meetings that turn into MMA matches, over, again, insanity. You know what I mean? So we try and find, to some degree, a little bit of a middle ground, which, again, part of what I'm trying to do, and I know what Shiya tries to do, is say, hey, no, let's have a conversation about it. Let's look at it. Let's not just immediately cancel somebody because they didn't say what we wanted them to say, but also in the same instance, let's really, again, talk about what the fuck is going on, what's being said. Now, again, opinions will vary. I understand, okay, why somebody would be pissed off at Joe Rogan right now. He fucked up. Okay? But again, and this is not an excuse or a justification, why him and why now when we have this going on so much? You know, again, we're going to have a real conversation. You know what I mean? We can't just use it when it's convenient. It's okay for this person to say it, but it's not okay for that person to say it. It doesn't work that way. It's not realistic, and all it does is create resentment. Okay? It creates a disconnect. It creates a separation. I believe, personally, it reinforces the very fucking thing that we're trying to avoid in this, is reinforcing racial stereotypes, reinforcing sexual stereotypes. You know what I mean? It's not fair. And listen, it applies across the board. A lot of these same elements, granted with different flavorings, no pun intended, with women and how women have been treated in regards to, I mean, really, it's, you know, a little over 100 years since women were even allowed to fucking vote.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're ranting. That is what we are talking about. Hello to Sarah and Jamie and Sabrina and everybody joining us. We're talking about communication breakdown and some of the double standard elements, and I was using two specific analogies: the insanity with Joe Rogan and his podcast, and Whoopi Goldberg's fuck up on The View, because they both are within the same framework about how we perceive and communicate within elements of not only racism, but also, you know, perspectives and opinions.
I feel like we as a culture have lost our ability to have what I call dissenting conversations, to where we can agree to disagree, to where we can share our perspectives and information and still respect the perspectives and information that the other person may have as well. I think we've lost that ability to have those, as you call them, the honest conversations. I feel like that we have, that the communication is completely broken down.
Well, it is in a lot of areas. I still have hope, you know, again, myself, and I know a lot of others out there have been trying with their voices to the degree that they can to really, again, vocalize it. Because, again, logic suggests if we don't communicate, how the fuck do we understand each other? And if we don't understand each other, how can we exist together?
Yeah.
It's not fucking rocket science. It really isn't. So, you know, there is a very simple dynamic in how we can at least shift some of these elements. And, you know, I mean, again, Sabrina, I absolutely agree with you. The scales are still completely twisted.
Yeah.
Misogyny and you know, many of these elements are so deeply ingrained in and it's not just exclusive to Western culture. You know, I was using, you know, the Middle East and Afghanistan as an example. They're a shining example of it. I personally believe, again, I don't have anything against their faith, but I do believe that faith needs to evolve within the framework of our understanding. And, you know, if we're really just going to be honest and be blunt, I think a lot of what is accepted or quoted as religious text was interpreted by a fucking guy somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay? You know what I mean? And a lot of it's fucking self-serving. And it makes sense from a historical context when you look at the time periods involved. So yeah, I don't buy into it. And, you know, again, a lot of it is framed around sexuality. Okay, you know, if we're going to have an honest conversation, part of it is that. And then obviously within the simple framework of control. Mm-hmm. You know, Sabrina says, her ex had a weapon license and she doesn't because I don't feel the mind to keep one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That there are variables, there are obviously the unique elements that we all have. And again, as I said in the beginning, we don't have to agree about everything.
No.
Okay, we can at least find small areas of common ground for the greater good. You know what I mean? And again, I'm concerned. I don't think it helps when we're just, well, you know, let me rephrase this, when a lot of people are just running around, you know, just looking to crucify people. Again, if you fuck up, aka you pulled your dick out in a board meeting, guess what? You deserve to get canceled.
Yeah.
Okay? If you get caught berating a black person using the N-word in the obvious hateful context, yes, you should be canceled. However, if you're doing a comedy skit and you quote a line from a rap song, okay, I'm not really sure that fits the criteria. I just don't. And it's not, again, to say that it should be this or it should be that, but context kind of is important. Okay? It really is. Now, you can make a case that, again, to somebody from a particular element, a particular framework, be it race, religion, whatever the case, that it might be offensive to them. But that is the beauty of the system we have with free speech. You don't have to listen. You can walk away. You get to choose what you listen to.
I have the right to be offended, but you also have the right to be offensive, as long as you're not.
Goddamn right.
Rights, you know, and I have the right to walk the fuck away and not pay attention if something's offending me.
If we're going to protect our system, we have to kind of have this conversation. You know, there's no way around it. Because if we don't, it doesn't change. And then what ends up happening is that it continues to kind of fall in on itself. It decays. Okay? And then you start seeing more of these, you know, like insane mass shootings and people driving vehicles into protest rallies, or, you know, cops no knocking and just basically shooting the first thing they see. Here's the other side of the coin. And I know a few guys on the job, a lot of them, and they won't admit it publicly, they're scared shitless. Okay? They don't know when, you know, because there are a lot of bad people out there. Now, does that make it right? No, but if we don't have an honest conversation, okay, that doesn't mean that we should fucking cancel them. We need to train them better. We need to have a better framework, a better working pool of choices. We shouldn't be fucking recruiting from, you know, KKK Academy. That's insanity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in the same aspect, it's cancel, fuck them. You know? I don't think anybody truly appreciates or understands, you know, what that really translates to. And all that it does now, okay, is make people less inclined, the good people that we need, to want to fucking go anywhere near it. Really, I mean, if you think about it, with all the insanity that's going on, you know, you got you either got somebody who's truly committed and has that good part, or you're going to have your serial abuser / skinhead wannabes and be like, oh yeah, man, get me a fucking badge and gun and beat up on some fucking minorities. Let me tell you, those types of characters, their dicks get hard on that stuff.
They really do.
Okay? And, you know, anybody who thinks that isn't the case isn't paying attention. Okay? Because a lot of them have publicly been like, yeah, this is who I am. Again, don't have to agree on everything, but we do have to address certain things. And Sabrina says, did you hear about the DV woman who left her abuser and he came back and shot her? and then CPS took it over. Listen, there are 1,000 horror stories that go on every other day. Unfortunately, everything's polarized. Depending upon where you live, you'll just get the bad news of your area. So around here in Rochester, we hear about our Rochester violence. You know, whoever gets shot or gets carjacked or ODs on fentanyl or dies from fucking COVID. And then the big national shit, like when a fucking volcano blows up or Joe Rogan pulls his dick out on his podcast, and or, you know, Whoopi says some stupid shit on The View. You know, again, there's been a lot of it.
It's like any kind of discussion is shut down these days. I hate to say it.
Well, again, it's a thin line because everybody has that unique perspective and their opinion, but we can share certain baselines. And it's one of the beautiful things about the community, and one of the things I love about all you guys is that we don't agree on everything.
No, we don't.
But we have this common framework within this metaphysical realm of wanting to explore and grow
and learn
and learn and expand upon elements that are actually very old, but that we're really just now seeing in a new light, you know, be it from magic or spellcasting or crystals, tarot, whatever it is, however you want to frame it. And I talk about this, and I've talked about it before, and I will continue to talk about it. What was magic 200 years ago is science today.
Yeah.
Cold, hard, accepted science. Not debatable, not fake news.
Hey, did you hear the world is actually a globe?
Well, you know.
It's one of those things.
Listen, even a blind squirrel gets a nut now and then, but... Well, hello, Psychic Medium Rosa. I wonder what Psychic Medium Rosa is. That something?
That's Dahlia, McDahlia.
Is that McDahlia?
Yeah, that's Dahlia.
Well, hello.
So.
Well, Sarah just hit on a really good point. In general, people do not have respect for themselves or others. And again, here is logic suggests, if you don't respect yourself, how the fuck can you respect anybody else? I mean, really, you can have basic empathy, I suppose. You can fake it to certain degrees, or, you know, obviously if it's in your best interest, especially if, you know, survival is involved. But yeah, it's a generic rule. I would definitely say Sarah's right on it, that we have lost a lot of ground. You're right. No one wants to talk about a domestic abuse, Sabrina, because there is so much of it. And you're right. It doesn't get any kind of press. And, you know, foster systems like CPS, they snatch babies. People end up dying on their watch. It is a fucking mess.
The system is
absolutely. And listen,
down.
You know, I won't deny it for a second. I've danced around edges of it when my son was younger, when his mother was alive, because of the chaos that she unfortunately brought to the table. So I've experienced it firsthand, and it's a nightmare. And I absolutely sympathize with anybody that has to go anywhere near that. Could we do better? Should we do better? Obviously. But this is, again, why we need to have conversations. There are a lot of conversations that need to be had. I mean,
at least, if we can create and foster good environments like this where you can have the honest conversation.
Amy, I'm right with you, hon. If we can't be honest with ourselves, how can we be honest with anything? No. It's a simple analogy. Again, it's not rocket science. It is literally, a circle and a crayon. All you have to do is color in the goddamn circle.
All these squares make a circle.
Don't tell me what to do.
I stole your line.
Yes, Mr. Popo. But anyway, one of the things, again, I'm going to do tonight, we've got the new writing contest, which is obviously a writing/music contest.
We should talk about that again.
And I'm going to put that back up here real quick.
Ta-da!
Very simple. Write a poem, a spell, a mantra, 50 words or less. And we're going to make it into a song. We're going to make it into a musical mantra or a musical song or a poem that, now is translated into something more. And
that's how Her Desperate Mind started.
Her Desperate Mind was written by Suzanne Kuhn, is a kind of a shadow work thing. Mm-hmm. And yes, it is exactly how that translated. And yes, there's a good chance that Shiya and or myself or somebody else, depending upon the type of what it comes to us,
it is, yeah.
the song will be produced.
Yes.
And
it will be
whoever
produced,
writes it
will be sung.
Will officially be, if they're not already, a legitimate songwriter with songwriting credits on a copyright that's actually filed. All the music we do, we file and list it. Not because we're making money off of it, just simply because, let's be honest, you really can't trust everybody out there, and some motherfuckers will steal your shit, and they'll make it into a goddamn chicken commercial and make a bunch of money and then run off to the fucking Cayman Islands. So I'm not about that. I want to make sure it's available for the people who need and want it so they can use it. But also in the same instance, what we do for a living. So if somebody wants to use it commercially, they're going to pay for it. Now, I want to make this clear because I don't want this to get mistranslated. This does not necessarily mean that because you win this contest, that you're going to make all kinds of money off this song. I have made over all the music that I have done recently. I have made, a couple of $100 off of all of it. And that was really only because of an independent producer coming in to produce it, not from any kind of royalties. With that being said, there's always a choice. There's always a chance. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. There's always a chance.
Fucking Jeff Bezos, I really like that song, and I want to make it Amazon's fucking theme song. And I'm going to pay you $10 million. And if that happens, whoever's listed on that songwriting element gets a piece of that $10 million, okay? I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, so please be clear. But that is the nature of the music industry.
Yeah.
So yes, you will actually be a songwriter. And then obviously, the other thing that we are doing with this is Shiya and our, your friend that you've introduced me to, but she's cool as shit, so I'm going to call her my friend now too. Fuck you.
You can steal my friend.
Suzanne with Mystical Moons. Yeah. She is generously putting up some gift certificates.
Yes.
She's got some incredible stuff. I really suggest check her out. She's definitely, quality, just like Ashley Hart and others that are within, the circles that we run. And here's the beautiful thing through Suzanne, because she does things. Mention Shiya, mention me, 25% off your first order.
That's pretty awesome.
Really awesome.
That was really sweet of her to do. I didn't even realize she was going to do that until she did it. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's so sweet. Because, we could all use a little more crystals in our lives.
Yes, absolutely. And you can check her out
on... I shared all my crystals on everywhere.
Check her out on Facebook.com/MysticalMoonsLive or at www.mysticalmoons.com. And yes, and Sabrina, I actually have a theory behind that. It's not one you're going to like, but I think it does fit. And Sabrina says, the people who want to get away from their abusers are always abused by the government. And she's tired of being beat down. And I don't blame you.
Understandable.
But here's the unfortunate reality. Most of these systems are set up based around, I guess you can say, the old, male-dominated model. So
the patriarchy.
You know what I mean? Everything is already tilted in that aspect. So especially within aspects, and let's call it for what it is, within certain cultural or economic areas, aka if you live in a poorer section of town, or if you happen to be a person of color, right off the bat, there is an assumption, I believe, that you're lesser. Okay. And that somehow your situation is your fault instead of the abuser's fault. Now, it's not always the case. I want to make it clear. I have met caseworkers, social workers that are incredibly gifted, loving, and caring people who honestly try to do a good job. But they are few and far between. And for most people in the system, it's only by luck if they happen to catch one of them. A lot of the people who are in there who are what I call systemic, they are just career people, paper pushers. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't really give a shit.
Or
and
people who have started
worse,
out with good ideas but have gotten beaten down.
To some degree, again, 1,001 different reasons. Mm-hmm. But we have a broken system. There is no doubt about it. And people's lives, and it is something we need to talk about more. And we will.
I like Sarah's life rule / house rule. Be cool, don't be a dick.
And listen, I'm with that. You know what I mean?
There's a good rule there to Sarah.
Keeps it simple, as they say. So again, one of the things that I've been doing in my COVID recovery is getting back into music production. As with most people who use any type of software these days, one of the banes is that most software companies are constantly updating their shit. So one of my main core software programs, it's called a DAW, but it's basically where I kind of mix everything together, went through another fucking update, which meant another, shift in the learning curve. It's like, please, can we just stop changing shit? Just leave it where the fuck it is, so I don't have to refigure out where, some stupid button is. But regardless, and I wanted to, play around again with, some new elements of things. So I've remixed a couple of the tracks, and some of them have been kind of playing in the background to different degrees. But I wanted to, take a few minutes and put a couple of them out there, because I hear from people, they really like these things, they enjoy them, and they want to listen to them. All this stuff will be released as it is completed through the YouTube channel. It'll be free, again, as discussed. There's my sister, Ashley. We were just talking about you. How you doing, hon?
Yo, Ash!
Ashley will be another person that will be spotlighted on here down the road when I get some graphical work from her.
She actually sent me some today.
Oh, she actually sent you some today?
Yes.
The wolf stands corrected.
Tomorrow.
So you shall be the next on my list. Anyway, it's great to hear and see from your sister.
Incredibly terrifying.
That was terrifying, really? I didn't think it was terrifying.
It was terrifying.
Okay. Yeah. Well, see, I scared the witch.
You scared the witch.
We're doing good. My throat isn't still 100%, so my voice is still not 100% back. Fucking tail end of this COVID just been weird. It's not like I've been like puking or shitting myself. Energy levels, headaches, body aches, my throat, a little bit in the chest, but getting better. Everybody else here, pretty much weathered it. Yes, I will greatly take this delicious fluid. Oh, wait, here it comes.
He's drinking a soda. It's a soda. Notice I said...
have a Coke and a smile.
There you go.
Oh, my God.
And a burp.
Yeah. Combination.
Love it.
Thank you, hon. I appreciate you very much as well, too. But yes, in that aspect, I have redone a couple of the tracks and just kind of, been doing some mixing, some shift adjustments with them. One of them will be shifting greatly within the next month or two. And some of them may just stay as they are. Don't know. But I'm going to start off with one, and again, it's a shout out to my little brother DJ. It was a track that was inspired by him, and just kind of like that disconnect element where, we don't always see the context that we can and do and should relate. And that we are like each other in so many ways. And it's nice to see you too, Diana.
Wait. Diana's here. Oh my gosh. Yay!
And Shiya obviously had a nice, healthy, steaming slice of sarcasm waiting for you when you showed up.
Well, she had clapping.
Which I personally, had nothing to do with. I am completely and totally separating myself from that moment. So I'll leave you two to hash out whatever steaming pile of whatever that was.
She knows.
I know. It's all good. But listen, this track was inspired by my little brother DJ in creating a track that, as it's called, Just Like You. And yes, it is a metal track because that seems to be the only thing I'm capable of singing these days. If you hear me now, anybody who's heard me on these podcasts, my throat is still fucked up.
Yeah, it's a little scratchy.
It's a little scratchy. So with that, I am going to crack out a little bit of a remastered, retweaked version of Just Like You. So that was me actually just completely fucking it up. Wrong track, wrong timing. See, I'm all fucked up. I can't even click a button correctly.
Oh, should I?
Yes, no. I mean, again, I brought the volume. Oh, there we go. See, even better.
Okay.
So that was a complete and utter fuck up. Okay, I can't even mix my own shit. How sad is that? So no excuses. Okay? The wolf fucked up. You heard it here. So, with that being said, we're now going to correctly correctly put this out here. And again, brother DJ, Just Like You. So yeah, again, that was a little track that was created and done off the fly from my little brother DJ there, and just trying to send a little magic, that understanding that sometimes, especially when shit is bad and we feel isolated and alone, we need to have those light at the other end of the tunnel, or that casual, simple reminder like, hey man, no, guess what? You're not alone. I'm just like you. Now, the let me out, let me in, which just kind of, I'm not going to lie, my brain just, very simple, basic. The music, for me, as a guitar player, it is where I communicate. That's my communication. Vocals, for me, are just not my thing. They really aren't.
Sorry.
Yeah, well.
Bullshit.
That's just me.
You can call me emotionally compromised all you want. I love you.
But I did it also in a style specifically for him, because he likes that deeper, pounding, really heavy type of stuff. And, my musical background is all over the fucking place. You know what I mean? I played everything from folk music, classical music, blues, jazz, metal, rock. And I have engineered and mastered and worked within even more elements, big band and swing, rap, hip hop, even, which, again, is not my first foray, but I respect and I appreciate elements of music. You know what I mean? Again, I make the joke, I don't do twang country, and it's just not my thing. I happen, to like certain elements of, country, as a fan of Johnny Cash. I like some of Willie Nelson's stuff. I like Chris Christopherson. I'm just not a really big fan of where country has kind of gone. The same element for me, I liked old rap. I liked elements, you know what I mean, of Ice Cube and Ice-T. Anybody, that knows the scene, knows that, Ice-T kind of formed the first fusion metal rap band in Body Count. But that's just, again, me. Now, when it started going into the gangster kind of misogynist type of stuff, yeah, I have no like of any of that type of shit. I personally find it fucking distasteful. I don't begrudge other people, but it does kind of fall into my parameters about the double standard within the communication breakdown. But also in the same instance, I don't have, again, a lot of room for some of this more sexualized pop music. Again, don't get me wrong. I understand that some people's perspective is what it is, but, when you have a framework where the whole song is about how wet somebody's pussy is, that's what we have Pornhub for. I'm sorry, but I joke with this with Shiya all the time. If I watch a historical, show, I don't need to see people fucking. I know people were fucking back then. Okay, I don't need porno in my science fiction either. That's why there's hentai and anime. You know what I mean? Again, keep it separate. We don't need to fucking overlap all this shit. Right. Now, again, that's not saying that I'm a prude. I don't give a shit. But, again, context. Put it in a framework that at least has some basic connection. Have some people go, well, it's unique to the perspective. Okay. I like some of Eminem stuff. I like, some of Biggie's stuff. I like, different variations, but I also like old R&B. You know what I mean? So, but here's the other side of the coin. I really don't like religion work mixed into my music. So I really don't like Kanye West. I really don't like Amy Grant. Okay.
Hey, I grew up on Amy Grant.
I'm sorry.
I to listen to.
And
I'm
like with it. Fucking Striper. God's metal, but fuck that. You know what I mean? And here's the truth. You know what I mean? Again, let's blow the bubble out there for you. those guys were, they were doing the same fucking things that old rock bands were doing. They were fucking groupies, drinking and having a great time. And then 20 years later, after it all blew up, they were like, oh, well, we've redeemed ourselves. No! You were just wannabe Motley Crue fuckers that were hiding behind a Bible, just like every other asshole that's come down the fucking path on it. That's just my opinion. Okay? But you can quote me. Okay? I have no problem. You can say the wolf said Stryper was a bunch of pussies. Yep, that's what he said. Yeah, pretty much what I said. Not exactly in those words. It was, I don't know who it was that just said that. That wasn't me. But.
Oh, wasn't you? I thought it was.
Hey, listen, again, we can agree to disagree. We can find those subtle little in-between elements. I don't have to listen to it. That's the great thing. We can change the channel. You know what I mean? We don't have to.
No, that's true.
Now, when it starts crossing over and infringing, and use the context that Sabrina has been talking about, because obviously, something that she is struggling with, when it carries over and that ideology now becomes policy, especially when you're talking about people's lives, their children, you know what I mean? Then there's a problem. At least, again, in my opinion, okay? And there's a big fucking problem. Because, again, without that understanding, without that communication, how the fuck can you help somebody?
Truth.
Okay? And I say this not just from my outside observations. I say this from my observations from inside of it. Because I had to dance with some of these elements. Because, again, as a single father, I was such an anomaly that they looked at me literally and they were just like, well, you're a man. Why would you want to raise your son? And and literally, I had a social worker said that.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. She was fucking dumbest thing I had ever encountered. I don't know who the fuck she blew to get the job, or who, grandfathered her in because her father is somebody in the fucking planet. I don't know. But she had no business dealing with people.
Apparently not.
None at all.
You're a man,
and
so
basically,
why would you want to take responsibility for your child.
And no joke, I basically had to, by just blowing up their phone lines and harassing them, get past her to an actual supervisor. And all that needed to be done was like, here are the police reports. Here are the school reports. Here are the reports from everybody else that knows what the fuck is going on. Take a few minutes and read them, because all your answers are there.
Yeah.
And once that actually happened, once I actually got to somebody, now in defense and in fairness, I will say this. I probably in some ways had an easier time as a white man, because I went batshit on them. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm leaving my kids anywhere near you. I've been fighting this shit with his mother because she's an insane fucking drug addict. I'm not fucking letting somebody who I wouldn't trust to make a peanut butter sandwich tell me what's good for my kid. No, fuck that. So, in some ways I used, probably without even realizing it, white privilege.
You use the tools that you need to use to get.
I saw the level of dysfunction and the level of apathy, and it's nightmare. So I totally get it for Sabrina that it's crazy. Dinah says she's heard of lots of sexism going on in the widow community. Lots of men talk about this.
What do you mean by sexism in that regards?
Yeah, this is a new one. I haven't danced a lot. I did a little bit of it, but not. I just wasn't comfortable with the whole context.
I know at first, when I first unfortunately joined the widow community, I was warned by a bunch of people. It's like, hey, if people find out you're a widow, they're immediately going to assume you're thirsty and hit on you, and guys are coming out the woodwork. And I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. You know what? It happened. And it's like, I'm like, dudes, no, thank you.
Yeah, listen, I mean, again, some of this, I'm not sure, again, there are different variables that come into play for whatever reason. And, they're like isolated pockets where, for whatever reason, maybe it's something in the fucking water, or because, 3 generations ago, everybody's brother was fucking everybody's sister, and you just got a broken genetic code within a particular community. I hate to say that,
it does happen.
It's a cheap shot at,
I hear banjos real fast.
But, shit happens, I don't know. But, yeah, some of it is weird. You know what I mean? I went through a flip side analogy as a single parent, you know what I mean? Again, trying to do things like PTA. And, it was horrifying. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff that I saw.
I'm surprised that you didn't get pounced on like meat.
Oh, I did. But
okay.
Here was the difference. I was at a point in my life where I absolutely had zero interest in any sexual context. I had a young son. I had a business. And, whatever this is worth, I don't want this to sound fucked up or egotistical, but through my earlier years as a musician, I kind of believe, I'll call it for what it is. I did enough fucking that I didn't need to worry about fucking at that point in my life. So it wasn't a priority. And I had a very simple philosophy. I did not want to introduce anyone or anything else into the framework around my son. I didn't think it was a good message. I didn't think it would help anything. And, I waited. I dealt with the element until he graduated high school. That was my, this is what I'm going to do. It was my plan. It was my philosophy. I believe that it worked. I don't regret it. You know what I mean?
See, the relationship that you and the monkey have, I think that you did everything.
Listen, I'll be the first one to admit, as a man, okay, most of sexuality for me, was again conditioned elements that were framed in misogyny and just fucking dysfunctionality. And it is what it is. And when you realize that, you really only have one of two choices. You either become part of the problem, aka the problem, or you adapt, you grow, you change, you learn. You have to get humble. I had to get humble and just be like, all right, I had to look at these things. I had to look at how I framed not only my expectations, but how I interacted. And that required me to, no surprise, communicate. And then I found out, very interesting thing, that relationship-wise, communication and sex are two totally separate elements. They can obviously influence and enhance and all those beautiful things. But I learned that the aspect that really I needed and what I wanted was that communication, was that connection. Everything else can come around from that. And it took me 50 years, but I have a relationship now that I can honestly say that I am more comfortable with than any other relationship romantically in my life. So, there it is. Proof is in the pudding. Diana says it isn't uncommon for single parents to go through a celibacy stage. Yeah, well, again, two sides of the coin. I think some of it might be generationally. Diana, you and I are closer in that. Not saying that you're old like me, but closer. Me and my monkey and Shiya, we were talking about this earlier. Especially now, the propensity seems to be to just jump to a relationship. He was commenting that so many of the women in his age bracket that he's encountering have children from multiple partners. Not, and I'm not saying that to say that that's a bad thing. Okay, I'm not saying that. But there is a tendency, and I understand that, with somebody, maybe per se who's a little bit older. But if you're 25 years old and you have 3 children from 3 different guys already, there may be an underlying element going on here. And this is not to, the men are even worse in it. Monkey and I actually had a phrase for them, and this phrase is used a lot. We call them fuckboys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't give a shit. They're all about just this Pornhub perceptional thing of women as possessions, as holes to fuck and conquer and move on to the next. And if you happen to drop your seed in one along the way, oh fucking well, not my problem. And I've met a lot of them like this, and it's absolutely mind-boggling. It's terrifying. And you see the beginnings of another generation of dysfunctionality. So again, we have to talk about it. I'm not saying that there is some easy or magical solution.
I love Sarah's sarcasm. I love you, Sarah.
Who told you that, Sarah? Did Steve tell you that?
To tell me that correctly communicating with people allows your life to be easier, and that there's less drama, and that you can actually avoid some of the hurt that you cause others by correctly communicating.
Yeah, listen.
Wow.
And again, I considered myself progressive, even, from the point of my son being born, but it took time and communication. And this is one of the, again, not to make a shameless plug, but I'll make the shameless plug, is why your mentorship circle is so incredibly powerful and important, because, just the one element, the shadow work element alone, is so important.
Yeah.
In being able to take the elements and communicate them, and then actually learn and adapt.
Yeah.
To change, to heal, to grow. And without that element, we are just left with ourselves. And we are, and I'm telling everybody, and again, you can quote me on this, we are our own worst enemies. Okay, we are. Whether we need it or not, whether it is conscious or not, it is what it is. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't adapt. It doesn't mean that we can't adjust. And it also doesn't mean that sometimes we got to do what we got to do. Okay? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, Diana just kind of got out there and was like, here, let me humble myself. And I shall quote her. And then, ... some people, ... Oh, God, and I lost it. Jesus Christ, I hate that. All right, here we go. We're going to do it again. And then, ... some people, ... parenthesis, guilty person here, parenthesis, learn to separate the, parentheses, love and communication butterflies, parentheses, with the, parentheses, needs, period. It can, I'm assuming that's make you colder.
Yeah.
All joking aside, all sarcasm aside, very well said and very, very true. It makes us withdraw. We build up like a shell to different degrees. It makes you colder.
Yeah.
And, again, great analogy when you can make it a science, when you craft it. And I know that all too well.
Yeah.
And Sabrina, no, I did not know that a woman under 35 cannot get their tubes tied without their husband signing the paper.
Yeah, no, I knew that.
That's fucking ridiculous.
It's awful. You cannot. Because, you never know. Your husband may want it. Your future husband may want to have children. Again, this is becoming redundant for me, but I'll keep doing it because somebody has to do it. I can't apologize on behalf of all men because most men are fucking assholes. Okay? They're fuck-ups. They're fucking children with manginas, struggling to get out of the closet and understand their own sexuality. Again, doesn't mean that they're bad men. It doesn't mean that anything more than they are products of their environment. This is conditioning. This is learned behavior. So I will apologize for those of us who actually give a fuck and are trying to be better. And whatever this is worth, I don't just talk this, I live this in. Yeah, you do.
That I am teaching and have been and will continue to be not only a role model to the best that I can, and I'm a fucked up role model, I admit it, but where it's important, where it counts, I do shine, you know what I mean? Again, and, you know, call that ego, call it whatever you want. I'm comfortable enough in my own skin to know who the fuck I am.
I call it fucking attractive.
Well, as Diana says, women are not picnics either. No, they are not.
We can be pretty cray-cray and emotionally dependent, codependent. We love to play games. We're taught to be mysterious and to play games and leave them in guessing to kind of keep them coming and to manipulate and things of that.
And listen, I get that. You know, to some degrees, that is, you know, cause and effect. It is a natural response to, you know, elements. Again, let's call it for what it is, that, you know, women have been subjugated to pretty much since the beginning of time.
And we had to learn to use our feminine wiles.
Right.
It
is adaptation.
But
you know,
there's a point to where our quote-unquote survival instincts, quote unquote, there, you know, becomes a detrimental thing.
Hey, listen.
Again, that's a communication breakdown.
I look at it as the cup is half full, because I look at nature and I look at a fucking praying mantis, and you know what? I'll take your fucking insanity versus, like, I fuck you and then you bite my head off and eat me. You see what I'm saying? Because nature's fucked up. That's what nature did.
It's just about ripping your head off and eating the head, not the entire body.
Semantics, okay. But I look at nature and I say, well, this is how nature figured it out over here. Mm-hmm. I'm okay listening to all of you.
And yes, Sarah's right. Communicating is much like doing chores. It's hot. It really is.
Okay.
It is. A man who can actually turn around and do chores and cook and other things too, and don't expect you just to do it all by yourself, man, yeah, that's fucking attractive.
I say I don't understand that, and here's the thing, and I'm not trying to dismiss it, but you have to understand. And anybody here who's a parent, I'm sure gets this. As a parent, I had to do all that shit.
Yeah.
Just as basic survival. I had to clean my own clothes. I had to clean my own toilet. I had to make the food that we ate.
We talked about this earlier. Look at how shocked that one woman was of, like, holy crap, you're a man and you actually want to raise your child?
Well, she was a fucking idiot. Yeah,
but
and again, in social services, they are not used to seeing that element. They just don't see it. So I was the anomaly.
You are an anomaly. You're my anomaly.
Diana, I think it's a protective shield that both sexes do to protect themselves.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know, the rationalization to some degrees is what it is, that, you know, they are unique, you know, in your, you know, you quote the one, you know, don't need to have, you know, I don't need you to have a roof over my head and I pay my own bills, or, you know, that type of thing, or any of the other elements that, you know, sometimes get manipulated or translated within it. But it is, again, a direct response. It is a shield. I talk about walls, but I also talk about them a lot, and especially within some of my teachings. They're masks. We wear them, you know what I mean, again, and they have different forms. Some of them are more expansive than others. They will, you know, cover more elements of things, but we develop them, we build them, we, as Diana said, we will science them.
I think there's a big case for removing the stereotypes and taking people as individuals. That's my thing.
Right.
You know, if you're an asshole, you're an asshole. I don't care if you're pink with purple polka dots, you're still an asshole.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm with you on that one.
You know, if you're a good person and you're pink with purple polka dots, then I'm going to like you.
But here's where we start getting into the little gray. Just because somebody's in a moment, maybe it appears to be an asshole, maybe, again, in the spirit of not letting the communication break down, sometimes we have to look a little bit beyond. And I know it's contextual, you know what I mean? You got to look at it as a situational thing. But using the earlier analogy, again, like a Joe Rogan, yeah, he fucked up. Okay, he fucked up. But did he fuck up to the degree that, like, a lot, you know, like, I tell you what, I got more problems with politicians and I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, I say politicians across the board trading stocks and making money off of policies that affect you and I.
Yeah.
Okay? I got more of a problem with that than if fucking Joe Rogan is, a fucking idiot and talking shit. Guess what? Don't listen to him if you don't like it.
Yep. It's like that meme. Here's Bob. Bob is offended by this post on Facebook. Bob kept on scrolling. Be like Bob.
Right. It's not like, again, like what Louis C.K. did and was running around putting his, showing women his dick. Okay, on the job. That's inappropriate behavior. That's different. All right. He got canceled, and rightfully so. Dave Chappelle, he makes an offhanded, couple of jokes about sexuality, and all of a sudden, he's the poster boy. Well, he hates transsexual. Nobody even knows what the fuck they're talking about. You know what I mean? It's just like, let's find somebody else to be pissed off. Okay? Gina Carano. Okay? Granted, she has flirted with some really kind of off-the-wall stuff.
Who's that?
Gina Carano. She was originally, I think, a wrestler, MMA fighter type. And
I know.
She was in the first season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, she was the one who...
And she's made some off-color, commentary. Again...
They fired her from the show.
Nothing that I thought was so fucking horrible.
I think she
equated
somebody else to, like, this is the Nazi style behavior.
No, well, yeah, she made that comment. She made one that a lot in the transgender community thought it was a shot at them, the beep, bop, bop, how people... listen, I get it. Not everybody understands and accepts the fact that we have more than male and female. I'm sorry, it's going to take time. Okay? It doesn't mean you don't have the right to identify as a weasel if that's what the fuck you want to do, or non-binary, or whatever it is. And I don't say that to be insensitive, but the rest of us have no concept, because guess what? Nobody's fucking communicating. So I don't understand it. And a lot of people don't understand it.
And Sarah, you have a good point that it's not always that easy for the neurodivergents, those who do not think along the standard. But at the same point, to my opinion, the neurodivergents are the superpower people that we're just, coming up with.
And listen, I get that. I go through it too.
But it's called unfriend button.
Well,
my favorite thing.
Again, I try not to do that. I just don't go through it as much. I know better. You know what I mean?
I see somebody who's constantly trying, and I don't necessarily say anything to them, but I just quietly hit that nice little unfriend thing, and then they never show up in my feed again.
There is that.
Yeah, the power of the thumb.
But it is, a lot of this really goes back to, are we willing to try and communicate, to try and understand? Again, we don't have to agree.
No.
But if we don't, I believe, at least make an effort, then where the fuck do we go from there? Because, again, logic suggests this shit's just going to get worse. And I don't think anybody wants to deal with any more bullshit or insanity. I don't know about you, but the past 2 years, I've had fucking enough, man.
And going back
Tired.
Completely full circle, we need to learn once again to have difficult conversations in a respectful way. I mean, we started teaching people, you shouldn't talk about religion or politics because, it's going to upset somebody. And so we got in this whole culture that, we're going to be offended. And if we're offended, we're going to cancel everything.
Hey, listen, here's a novel suggestion. It's a little crazy, but here's what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'll use Star Trek as the analogy.
That's right.
And it goes back to the earlier thing about how magic becomes science and, the whole intermixing of, how we expand and learn in technology. But with that said, use Star Trek as the analogy. We've made communicators, okay? We've done all of these things using Star Trek as a base. Let's make weapons that actually really stun, okay? Yeah. And we take away all the lethal force weapons from our general police population, and we all give them phasers with fucking stun. So it's not like a taser that maybe it'll stop them, or maybe they'll have a heart attack. It's just pop, you're out. So now we can deal with situations in a non-lethal way. Now, that doesn't mean like the SWAT and the military guys don't get the real phasers that can fuck people up. But I personally, I don't know about the rest of you, I'm tired of reading stories about innocent black people getting killed because they're fucking black. This is insane.
It really is.
Because I guess what? I tell you what, if we had a black-dominated population and white people were just getting clipped for being white, okay, we fucking atomic bombed entire cities for less.
Yeah.
Okay, don't kid yourself for a second.
And it's not just
that it would not be complete fucking anarchy. And people wonder why there is such disconnect within certain elements of that community, because they're tired of getting killed.
And it's not just the quote-unquote ghetto people that are victims of the race discrimination. I've seen quote-unquote respectable businessmen who have told me stories of how they've...
Jesus Christ, we have video documentation of you know, celebrities and professional people just, you know, and again, and that isn't to say that white people aren't killed. Listen, I saw a fucking video from Las Vegas where this poor 23-year-old kid, and this kid looked like he was just like off a fucking poster for Come to Iowa. He was your classic white kid, cornbread, all-American, really, just as an all-American, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This poor kid on the ground, crying, with them screaming at them, and he just moves because his pants are falling down, and they blow him away.
That's just ridiculous. I mean, we shouldn't have to be in this fear-based of a society, truly. But you know what? Our media cultivates a fear-based society.
Sarah hits on a really good one, and I agree with her. Germany got it right. Okay, Germany, and again, a good part of the population did not agree, did not want anything to do with the Third Reich or Nazis in general, but this is what happens within a society when the crazy people take the reins. Okay, hint, what we almost just went through, but anyway. But Germany was just like, yeah, fuck this. Nazi shit is banned, and if you play that card, we're going to fucking prosecute you.
Yeah.
End of story. Now, guess what? They still have Nazis, but they don't have any type of pull like they do here.
No, they really don't.
And when they come out of the fucking shadows, let me tell you, Germany ain't no joke. They will not allow that to repeat.
No, and let me tell you, they have become, I've visited Germany. I've been there. I have some really good, close German friends. You know, I have people's houses I could go and stay at in Germany if I wanted to. But one of the things I've learned about the Germans is they have become extremely conscientious on having those conversations, extremely conscientious of, as taking care of each other.
Listen, the same thing happened. The same thing happened in Japan.
Again. Yeah.
After World War II.
Yeah.
Some areas are slower. Listen, and again, you know, some of this is political, some of this is cultural, some of this is economic. But there has to be, and I agree that line, but we need to have that communication to draw those fucking lines, to say, okay, don't have to like it, but you cannot allow it to carry over onto others. Okay, it can't become this all-encompassing thing where, well, the mentality now is I'm just going to do what I'm going to do because I saw a Facebook thing that says that this pizza parlor here is the headquarters for the satanic pedophile socialist club. It's insanity. Okay.
Yeah, Monica, the problem with the polygraph test is that sociopaths can absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It.
Yeah.
They have no feelings. They don't care.
Now, me personally, I think they should go in for like a, you know, a very, you know, what Special Services does, that you go through like a 30-day
a very
intense
training, yeah.
psychological profiling.
Yeah.
You don't even get to touch a fucking gun or go run in the backyard.
Yep.
until they have picked you apart.
Poked every button you have.
Okay.
If you go boom.
It's too much at stake.
Yeah.
Okay. It's too much riding on it.
I agree completely. You can't bleed on others, not physically, mentally, or emotionally. I agree with that, Sarah. Yeah, you can't.
So to close out tonight, and again, I want to really thank everybody for not only their participation, but for their support. And we will be continuing these discussions and these conversations. Next Tuesday, we're going to do a fireside chat, which is kind of like a Shiya special. We'll both be here, but we can continue on this subject or any others, you know.
Now, within reason, that doesn't break Facebook and YouTube policies.
Oh, God. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I very rarely have seen anybody within here.
No.
It's what I really like. And listen.
We have a really wonderful, respectful community that we can talk about things that we agree with, that we disagree with, and love and respect each other. I love our community.
And I don't want this to sound like I'm trying to be, you know, exclusive or cliquey, but I don't mind having a smaller community. I don't need 10 million fucking followers. They really don't. Well, we're looking at it differently. Well, you know, for me, this allows me to actually interact. And that's not to begrudge. It's not to say I don't want new subscribers, that I don't want new people to hang out and bring their mix. But my fear and my concern, and we have talked about this, that if it ever does get to such a big degree, how do you realistically be able to interact? You know, if I had 100 people here right now all wanting to try and interact and talk, it'd be a bit crazy.
We would have definitely less, you know, pulling on people's conversations. But at the same point, I will go mama bear on my community. If there's somebody that comes into our community and is derisive, divisive, harmful, then you know what?
Oh, listen, you
there are no second chances. You're out.
When we get that occasional asshole that comes in. Yeah, no, Diana,
Jim Jones?
I don't want to be Jim Jones.
No. We do not drink any Kool-Aid here.
Nope.
We will drink our green tea, but not Kool-Aid. So.
Now, I kind of, you know, I kind of envision myself like a I guess you could say a redeemed Jim Morrison. Like after Jim Morrison went to hell, realized all of his fuck ups and got a second chance and was able to come back and actually be able to put himself there and be a father and be a viable human being. As insane as that sounds.
Actually, I don't disagree with you. Because you definitely know how to surf the what do you call it? The interdimensional cable.
Yes. Yes, and you know, full disclosure, I stole that from Rick and Morty. So Justin, please don't sue me, man. It's cool. I'm giving you props.
We're fans of interdimensional cable
because you got such a cool show. Really, it's just so many. I don't have anybody that is fan of Rick and Morty, but this last season, especially the season finale, you want to talk about getting into some deep breakdown of some fucking dysfunctionality in a comedic animated setting. I've never seen anything. I gotta tell you, I've never seen anything like interdimensional cable, like cable TV. Whereas your channels are not just like HBO and Showtime, but they're from like alternate realities, universes where people were not the dominant species, chairs were.
Yeah, the chairs are ordering pizzas.
Talking freaky deaky
stuff.
Like maybe that time back in college when you took that tab of acid and you really didn't think anything was going to happen. Whee! And then your walls started to melt. And that little teddy bear that you had since you were a kid got up and started doing a jig on your desk.
And then his face started melting like Indiana Jones.
Then he pulled his dick out and pissed all over everything and traumatized you.
That got dark.
And then you had to throw it out the fucking window, but it kept coming back.
Your son.
So
loves
you
that
burnt
show.
it, but you kind of burnt down half your dorm room in the process, and you got kicked out of college. I don't know, not saying that, but there is a reality where that may or may not have happened.
To you, specifically.
Yeah, my kid loves Rick and Morty. Well, all three of us. It's one of the things we share as a family.
Yeah.
Yes, I tend to sometimes go off on
Dark humor.
side. No, listen.
Dark humor.
I believe. Sarah gets it. I come from the George Carlin School of Humor. Like I said, here I'm kind of like this. Like if George Carlin and Jim Morrison got beamed in the transporter, but Scotty fucked it up and combined the two of them and then rematerialized.
Yeah, but somewhere you got some Lennon Imagine kind of DNA.
But that's conditioning. That was exposure.
Gotcha. I'll give you a hug, dude. Yeah, I give him plenty of hugs. Even when he's like, "Get off me!"
Jim and I both are connected within our element of the spirit dance, as they say, the shaman.
I hear you there.
Chief Mojo Rising.
Mojo.
And with that, I'm going to end the show with a remix version of Demons with a little bit of piano that I added to it and just, slight aspects.
Now, could you give people a little bit of history on the...
No, I will not. I'm just going to play the fucking song and leave it at that. But I will leave you with this. Just remember, in any given situation, just say to yourself, I am the Lizard King or Queen, or binary neutral, if the case may be. But I am the Lizard King, and I can do anything.